sentence you to life in confinement without parole.
That's f***ing horse shit. You do whatever the f*** you want.
Why are they shutting my mic off?
I'm the federal witness of the United States federal government. I demand some goddamn respect, you. All I did was trespass on property.
Ma'am, you gotta create the community that you want to live in.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Laura Arroyo, State Certified Interpreter and previously sworn.
Good afternoon. Defendant is wearing the headset.
Yes, Your Honor. 1 second, please, while I make connection with the podium.
See.
Connection is established.
All right. Your name, sir?
Dígame su nombre, señor.
Carlos Ferrer Núñez.
Carlos Ferrer Núñez.
All right, sir. You are here today. You were arrested on a charge of trespassing. It's crashed. Hang on just a second.
Your Honor, state did convey an offer to Mr. Ferrer Nunez.
Okay.
Adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and no return to the Red Roof Inn located at 8342 Jamaican Court.
Does he wish to?
Your Honor, I wasn't able to speak with him. He speaks Spanish.
Okay. Mr. Ferrer, the state is offering you a plea offer. If you want to resolve your case and enter a plea of no contest, they recommend that you be sentenced to the time that you served with an adjudication of guilt and court costs and no return to the Red Roof Inn. Would you like to resolve your case with that plea?
See.
Yes.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No.
No.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past? All right, you understood all the rights on that?
No.
All right, you understood all the rights on that plea form? Do you have any questions about the rights on that form?
No.
No.
Now, finally, you understand that this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I do find sufficient factual basis to accept your plea. I will judge you guilty of this offense. Be sentenced to
2 days.
2 days in the Orange County Jail, with 2 days credit for the time you previously served. I'll impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution to the state. It's a total of $273, and I'll give you 12 months to get that paid off. Pay it off a little at a time or all at once, just needs to be paid within the next 12 months. Okay?
Okay.
All righty, thank you.
Okay.
That was a 2022 MM 5105AO. Yeah, no return to the Red Roof Inn. Your name, sir?
Mi nombre es Darío Arana.
My name is Darío Arana.
Hi, Mr. Arana, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of grand theft third degree. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Bond is set in the amount of $500, and I will appoint a public defender to represent you. That's
Okay.
thank you. It's case number 2022 CF 8907AO.
Pero yo tengo con qué pagar la fianza. Yo tengo con qué pagar la fianza.
The interpreter just wants to make sure she's hearing a negation or not. Just give me a second.
Que tengo
I have the amount to pay off the bond.
Okay, then you can find out.
Sí.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, and I appoint a lawyer for you.
Ok. Ok.
Lucas Brabeck? Brabeck?
Your Honor, they told me he was in mental health.
Okay, do we have any other Spanish? No, sir. All righty, thank you, Laura.
You're welcome, Your Honor. The interpreter will disconnect.
Alrighty. All right, Brabeck was mental health? Yes, sir. All right, I do find sufficient probable cause set bond amount of $500, or excuse me, $1,000.
So that's for a no return to the
No
airport.
return to OIA
Thank you.
without,
Valid ticket.
yeah, a ticket to fly. All right, I do find sufficient probable cause in Mr. Foster's case, set bond amount of $500, appoint a public defender in that case, and no return to 402 Bethune Avenue. All right, Mr. Taylor's case, I do find sufficient probable cause. Count 1, trespass on property after warning. Count 2, petty theft. Bond set in the amount of $500. Count 1, $100. Count 2. And no return to 1200 West Colonial Drive. Gerald Fountain. Second, Mr. Fountain. All right, you are Mr. Fountain?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Fountain, you were arrested on a charge of battery of a occupied structure and criminal mischief. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. The burglary of an occupied structure carries a $5,000 bond and $1,000 on the criminal mischief. And did you want to have a lawyer appointed?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Yo, and then where I could get like released on RR, I really wasn't trying to do anything. I wanted to go home.
Well, be careful that you don't want to start talking about what happened.
All right.
You have a lawyer, and they can now they should be able to take a look at it.
Your Honor, state would ask for a no return to the 7-Eleven and no contact.
Yeah, no return to 3355 Violin Road, the 7-Eleven, and no contact with the employees there. John Tevius McGee and Nazia Chugbai.
People are ridiculous, man. For real.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Come on. Abdul Hau?
He refused, Your Honor.
Gonna start taking it personal. Okay, so this is an arraignment, is it a misdemeanor now? Set for, what division is this? Yeah, set for pretrial in Division 80.
It's gonna be September 22nd at 9 o'clock in courtroom 9C.
Drenell Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yourself? Yeah, here for arraignment today. Your case will be set for pretrial. What are you doing, August 18th? Division 80, that's mine.
Your Honor, state did convey an offer to Mr. Anderson
Oh, okay.
of an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, no return to the target at 4740 Millennia Plaza Way, restitution in the amount of $249.99, and cost of investigation of $158.80 to OPD.
All right, Mr. Anderson, if you wish to resolve your case to time served, that's what this state is offering.
I do not accept, Your Honor.
What's that?
I do not accept, Your Honor.
Okay, so you just want to, we'll set it for pretrial then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
At 8:45 in courtroom 4B.
Have a blessed day, Your Honor.
That was September 9th?
Yep, September, yeah. Your name, sir?
Frank Clemens.
All right, Mr. Clemens, you're here for arraignment on your carry and concealed weapon charge. It will be set for pretrial in Division 61. Did you want to have a lawyer appointed?
Not really.
What? You don't want a lawyer? You gonna represent yourself?
That's right, because I'm representing myself on, because I tell you why I had the brass knuckle, you know. For
Well-
protection,
Well, you know what? Let me just, before you talk about what you did or didn't do, you know, sometimes,
I don't need no lawyer.
well, you understand that this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail. You go to jail.
Give me the 60 days, I'll be better off in here than out there where somebody running behind me with pistols.
Okay.
Now, you tell your PD to handle that, because they ain't doing the job. Anybody running behind me with a pistol, I should have protection. I'm 6'8". Them brass knuckles cost me $10. They didn't tell me to get no permit or nothing. Need to
Right.
go to the flea market.
Well, it could be that a lawyer could help you and maybe be able to get your case dropped or get it worked out better.
Yeah, well, okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
So you want a lawyer to work on that for you?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll appoint a public defender to work on that for you.
Yes,
All
I
right?
appreciate it.
Okay, all right. And that'll be set for pretrial in Division 61.
September 1st at 1:30 in courtroom 7C.
Thank you,
We're
sir.
all set. Your name, sir?
Hedges John.
Hi, Mr. John, you're here for arraignment on your trespass after warning. It'll be set for pretrial in Division 62 unless the state has an offer.
Your Honor, state did give me an offer on behalf of the city of an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, no return to the 7-Eleven at 5281 South John Young Parkway, and a $10 filing fee.
So if you want to resolve your case to time served today, it would be that an adjudication, no return to the 7-Eleven on John Young, and court costs and a $10 filing reimbursements would be a total of $233.
Yes, sir.
You want to do that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm gonna sign right
Can I have you sign that? Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No.
Okay. You understand you're giving up the rights that are on that form. Do you have any questions about the rights?
No, sir.
Okay, you understand that this is punishable by up to a year in the county jail, or no, up to a year in the county jail, up to $1,000 fine. Entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Yes, sir.
All right, do find sufficient factual basis, I'll judge you guilty. You'll be sentenced to 38 days in the Orange County Jail. You have 38 days credit for the time you've served. Impose court costs and a $10 filing reimbursement. That's a total of $233, and I'll give you 12 months to get that paid off. You can pay a little at a time or all at once, whatever you want to do. Finally, I'm going to order that you not return to the target at 5381 John Young Parkway for a period of 1 year. If you do go back there and the court's made aware of that, you are subject to a contempt citation.
7-Eleven, not Target.
Your Honor, I believe there's a 7-Eleven.
Oh, 7-Eleven, I'm sorry. Yeah, 7-Eleven. Okay? You'll be released as to this case.
Appreciate it.
Your name, sir?
Alan Edward Smith.
All right, Mr. Smith, you're here today for arraignment on your trespass occupied structure conveyance. The case will be set for a pretrial in Division 83. Does the state have an offer?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right. And you don't have an attorney in the case right now?
Sir.
Did you want to have a public defender appointed?
I just want to know what the charges is and where I was, and I know nothing about the case at all, so I am more than willing to resolve it today, though.
Well, they unfortunately don't have an offer.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not certain where you were. All I have is that it was a trespass of an occupied structure. That's why if you wanted an attorney, I could appoint an attorney for you. They can start looking into that and try to figure out where everything was.
Well, I'm EOSing in 10 days, so
I don't think you're being held on this, are you?
I'm in the county jail as is.
Right, on something else.
Correct. And like I said, my sentence is over in 10 days.
Was there, shows this was a summons, is it a no bond? I mean,
Your Honor, it originally came in as a burg occupied structure, trespass occupied structure, petty theft. And I believe the victim wanted to be present, which is why there's not an offer today.
okay. Well, I mean, I guess the question is he being held on this case? Because if he's being held on another sentence, and that's gonna end in 10 days, If he's not being held, if there's no actual conditions, then they're gonna cut him loose.
It doesn't appear he is, Your Honor. It appears he's only in on a VOP.
And that's the sentence that he's finishing up?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All righty.
So what does that mean?
Well, right now, this extra case is a summons case. It's not a case where you bonded out on or anything like that. So it doesn't sound like there's no hold on you, so when you finish your sentence, you will walk out.
Okay, so will I have a new court date?
Yes.
Okay,
That's what we gave you today as a pretrial date.
okay, and which is the date
That was, what was that?
August 29th.
August 29th,
So my next question is, do I come here or do I go downtown?
downtown.
Okay, so I'll get paperwork for that?
Yep.
So then, should I sign up for a public defender now?
Well, if you want one, yeah, that's what I was offering. All right, I'll appoint a public defender to represent you on this.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you, sir.
All righty. All right, Mr. Glover I do find probable cause possession of cannabis and resisting without violence, bond say the bond's 500 and 100 on those. And, the first case, 2022 CF 5084AO, revoke those RORs. And that's no bond. And, on the first degree murder case, that hasn't been filed on yet either, has it?
No, Your Honor.
I'm gonna revoke those bonds, make it 0, and then they can come back. Your name, sir?
David Williams.
Hi, Mr. Williams, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of trespass after warning. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause.
Your Honor, state did convey an offer to Mr. Williams of an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and no return to the Miracle of Love at 741 West Colonial.
All right, Mr. Williams, if you wish to enter a plea and resolve your case today, you can enter a plea of no contest. It'd be an adjudication, time served, and court costs, and a requirement that you not return to the Miracle of Love. Do you want to do that?
Yes, sir.
All right, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
Yes, sir.
I understand you're giving up rights by entering this plea. You give up the right to have an attorney, the right to, for that attorney to appear at your trial and for you to proceed to trial, the right for you to require the state to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt at that trial, the right to question or cross-examine any witnesses the state would bring to testify against you, the right to present your own witnesses, and also for you to testify or refuse to testify. You understand all that? Finally, you understand that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Yes, sir.
Do you find sufficient factual basis, I will judge you guilty, be sentenced to the time you have served. I'll impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. That's going to be a total of $273. And I'll give you 12 months to pay that off. At any point in time, you can pay that off. Finally, going to order that you not return to the Miracle of Love at 741 West Colonial Drive for a period of 1 year. If you do go back there and the court's made aware of that, you are subject to a contempt citation. Okay?
Yes, sir.
You're all set. You'll be released as to this case.
Mr. Davis refused, Your Honor.
Right. All right, Sean Davis. I do find sufficient probable cause as to disorderly conduct. And I think it's resisting. Yeah. Set bond as to the disorderly conduct, 250, as the resisting 100. And he was out on bond in 2022 MO 875AO, revoke bond, no bond.
Is that 22 MM 4894?
Yes.
Yes, I read the wrong case then. 4894. Your name, sir?
Gary Moody.
sign
All right, Mr. Moody, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of urinating in public. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find sufficient probable cause. Is there an offer?
Yes, Your Honor, State Committee an offer of an adjudication of guilt, credit time served.
All right, Mr. Moody, if you wish to enter a plea today, it would be an adjudication of guilt and time served, and then court costs. Is that what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
All right, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
I got this plea form here. Looks like it has your signature on it. Did you read over that and understand the rights? This form here? Do you have any question about the form that you signed?
No, sir.
You understand this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea would result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Yes, sir.
All right, I do find sufficient factual basis to accept your plea. I will judge you guilty of that. Sentence you to time served, impose court costs and a $50 cost of, actually, no, $10 filing reimbursement. Was it an MM or is it an MO? It's an MO. A $10 filing reimbursement total of $233, and I'll give you 12 months to pay that off. You can pay it a little at a time or all at once. Just got to get paid in 12 months, okay?
Okay.
All righty, you'll be released as to this case.
Your Honor, there doesn't need to be a $10 because it hasn't yet been filed,
Oh, okay. Yeah, so no $10.
just to save him $10.
Technically didn't file, yeah. Fair enough. Your name, sir?
Robert Leonard Williams.
Hi, Mr. Williams. You're here today because you're arrested on a charge of open container. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. Do find sufficient probable cause. State.
It did convey an offer on behalf of the city of a withhold credit time served.
All right, Mr. Williams, if you wish to resolve your case today, you want to enter a plea of no contest, it would be time served and court costs. Is that what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
All right, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
All right, this plea form I got with your signature on it, did you understand all those rights and sign it on the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about the rights?
No, sir.
I understand that this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea would result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Yes, sir.
All right, I do find sufficient factual basis to accept your plea. I'll withhold, she has withhold on the plea form. Was it an adjudication?
It's a withhold, Your
A
Honor.
withhold of adjudication. I'll sentence to the time you've served, I'll impose court costs and and it's not filed on. So court costs, and that's a total of $223, and I'll give you the next 12 months to pay that off. All right? You're all set. You'll be released as to this case.
Yes, sir.
All right. Your name, ma'am?
Charisse Gonzalez.
Okay. Let me get that one. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, ma'am, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of no valid driver's license. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. There is sufficient probable cause. Do you want to resolve that?
Your Honor, State conveyed an adjudication credit time served.
You want to resolve that by entering a plea of no contest to just be an adjudication of guilt and time served?
Yes.
Court costs? All right. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
I'm sorry?
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol? Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
Mental illness is the best.
Yeah. Have you suffered from any mental illness in the past?
Yes.
Okay. Take any medication for that?
Yes.
All right. And you understand what's going on here today?
I'm sorry?
You understand what is going on here today?
Kind of.
Okay. You understand that you're being charged with no valid driver's license?
Yes.
That I can set a bond or you can enter a plea,
Yes.
right? I'll set a bond either way. And you indicated that you want to enter a plea of no contest, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, what don't you understand? You said you kind of understand what's happening. What are you missing?
It was just that you just explained it to me.
Okay, well, we're getting there. We're not done. So you have suffered from a mental illness in the past, but you're not under the influence of that right now. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I'm not.
All right. Did you understand all the rights on this form and then sign it on the bottom?
I have to read them because I didn't read them.
All right, you understand that you have the right to have an attorney represent you?
Yes.
You understand you have the right to proceed to trial? You understand that you have the right at that trial to require the state to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes.
You understand that at that trial you have the right to question or cross-examine any witnesses the state would bring to testify against you?
Yes.
You understand that at that trial you have the right to present your own witnesses?
Yes.
And you also understand that at that trial, you have the right to testify or refuse to testify as the Constitution allows.
Yes.
Any questions about those rights?
No.
And finally, you understand that this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Understand?
Yes.
All right, do you find sufficient factual basis to accept your plea? I'll judge you guilty of no valid driver's license. Will impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution to the state. It's a total of $306. I'll give you 12 months to pay that off. You can pay it a little at a time, all at once, as long as it's paid in 12 months, and you'll be released as to this case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All righty. No. Your name, sir?
David Batchy.
Hi, Mr. Batchy. You're here today because you were arrested on a charge of possession of methamphetamine. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. Bond set in the amount of $5,000. Did you want to have a public defender appointed to represent you?
Yes.
All right, I will appoint a public defender to represent you. Thank you. Your name, sir?
Brown.
Mr. Brown, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of fleeing and attempting to elude. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. I'll set bond in the amount of $1,500. And did you want to have a public defender appointed to represent you?
I thought I already signed for one.
You may have, but I'll make it official. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you on this case. Did you have other cases that they're representing you on?
No.
Okay. All right, you're all set then.
Thank you.
Your name, sir?
Charles Wilberson.
Mr. Wilberson, you're here today. Wilberson Charles, let me see. No, I know, all right, there we go. Because you're arrested for 2 counts, destruction of evidence and resisting an officer of violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. As to the destruction of evidence, bond stayed in the amount of $1,000, the $100 on the resisting an officer without violence. Did you want to have a public defender appointed? Want a lawyer?
I thought it's only resisting.
Well, it's resisting and destruction.
I didn't destroy nothing. You didn't find nothing I destroyed. No evidence of me destroying nothing.
All for them to be able to make that charge. I can't remember if you threw something.
You bid it, Your Honor.
Oh, you bid it. That's what it was. So, did you want a public defender?
Yeah, I mean.
All right, I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. You got a lawyer.
I think you also threw as well.
Your name, sir?
Diaz, Jared Diaz.
All right. Okay.
I have Collier. They bonded Collier?
All right, Mr. Diaz, you have a couple of things. Well, you're here because you're arrested on a charge of possession of cocaine and possession of cannabis less than 20 grams. Have reviewed the charging affidavit. And there is sufficient probable cause. The bond on the possession of cocaine is I'm going to reduce that to $1,000, and $500 on the marijuana possession charge. And that's 2022 CF 8894, and then you have 2022 CF 4292 AO, and that's a DUI charge. I have reviewed that. Do find sufficient probable cause. Set bond the amount of $500 on that. You're not to operate a motor vehicle without a valid Florida license and/or no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol, and no guns. As to that, 2022 CT 4292 AO.
You said 500?
Yeah, 500. Yeah, yep. And no operating of a motor vehicle without a valid license. And then in 4293, driving license suspended, set bond the amount of $250. Again, same special conditions, no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol, no operation of a motor vehicle without a valid Florida driver's license. And then that leaves one case. 2021 CF 3442AO, which is an on-site violation of probation.
Yes, sir. I had a question.
And there is no bond on that. Yes, sir.
For the possession of cocaine, they said they found cocaine on the floor. That really doesn't I have no constructive possession. It wasn't even my physical possession.
Well, if it's within your dominion and control, that is constructive possession, okay?
Constructive possession. And the other thing was I wasn't even inside of a vehicle.
Okay, well, that'll be up for your lawyer to do. Now, I see that you had, on your violation of probation case, it looks like Tracy Kagan, it must have represented you prior to that. I don't know if you've hired her for the violation, but did you want to have a public defender appointed?
I was just gonna see if I could contact Tracy and
Okay.
see how that goes, and if not, I'll.
You can always come back and ask for it later. Alrighty, you're all set.
I had one last question.
Mhm.
I saw that there was offering ROR for some of those other charges.
No.
No?
Doesn't matter anyways, there's no bond on your VOP, so, at this point, might as well get your credit.
All right.
Alrighty, take care. Okay. I have reviewed the charging affidavit in Mr. Doe's case. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. As to the grand theft, the bond set in the amount of $5,000, $2,000 count 2, and $2,000 count 3.
Your State would ask for a no return to the Family Dollar and no contact.
All right, no return to Family Dollar, no contact with the witnesses in the case. Hmm?
Just an offer from over at his officer.
Okay. All right, your name, sir?
Joshua Forcier.
All right, Mr. Forcier, you're here because you're arrested on number of charges. Battery on a law enforcement officer resisting with violence, resisting without violence, and petty theft. I have reviewed the charging affidavits that do find there's sufficient probable cause. As to the battery on law enforcement, the bond would be $2,500. The resisting with violence, $1,000. The resisting without, $500. And the petty theft, $500. And you were also out on pretrial release.
Your Honor, I'm showing he entered a written plea on that on July 20th.
What's that?
I'm showing he entered a written plea on that case, the petty theft.
In the 2022 MM 3922?
Yes, Your Honor. On July 20th, it looks like.
I don't even have it filed. 1 second.
Okay. Certainly possible.
I have it. It was a refer to state for a charging decision, and then that same date there was a written plea filed. However, I don't believe a plea was taken or accepted because it's currently a return to state case.
Yeah, it hasn't been filed on yet.
No.
And it was an arrest case, so it wasn't one they could have pled on a NOA.
Yeah, there's no NTA or anything.
They told me I just had to do fingerprints, and I showed up to do the fingerprints, and I didn't have the $10 to do the fingerprints, and they said that was all that they needed. I showed up at the sheriff's department, and that's why I didn't return back to my home state, because I didn't have the $10 to pay, so I couldn't do the fingerprints, so I was left homeless on the streets here with nothing. And that was supposed to be done, and I would have called up to, or done an appointment for it, but I had no place to stay.
You already had that info.
So the plea was entered, but I
Yeah,
just have to give.
yeah, I'm just, that's. So it looks like the PD did the written plea.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't see anything conveyed, nor has it been filed, so there's nothing for him to plead to currently.
Yeah, because I mean, it looks like they just filed it, and that's the other thing. It looks like the Miss Apabala just did a written plea, filed it, and it's not ever gone to court. It's never come up in front of the judge. There's nothing, there's no court minutes or anything. Well, there's on the 20th. What does it say? That was when it was referred back.
Yeah.
That must have been arraignment.
We do have in our notes that she was conveyed a plea offer, but so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, the only time it's been to court, well, there was IA, but then on July 20th, that must have been arraignment, and then Judge Bigney referred it back to the state. And then that same day, the Assistant Public Defender, Apabala, just somehow did a written plea and filed it. Is that who you spoke with?
She was, yes, I did on the phone, but she was out of the office, and so I did it with another lady from.
Okay, so you came into their office and signed this document?
Yes, yes.
I mean, there must have been some communication. They actually have a restitution amount in there, $71.89. I don't know if that makes sense, but. All right, well, I'm not gonna take any action on the PTR. And, so I'll sign off on that. Because it looks like, I mean, it's just, there was some confusion. Do you have anything in your file state? I mean, I guess I could. The written pleas here, I could take the written plea and we could close that one.
However, it's still not filed. There's not an NTA or an information.
Oh, that's right. That was the whole problem from the start.
Yeah.
July 11. Yeah. I won't touch that. He'll stay on PTR on that, and then the other bonds are what they are, and I'll appoint a public defender in the new case as well then.
The only,
Okay.
only note I see is that we're waiting on JNS's. So it's still in the filing
Right.
process, yeah.
Okay, well, that would make sense. That's why it's taking some time. Okay. Wonder if she did, was she trying to slide that written plea in before the JNS has come in? All right, your name?
Francisco Giraldi, sir.
Mr. Giraldi, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of grand theft third degree. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Bond will be set in the amount of $1,000. And did you want to have a public defender appointed?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Your Honor, Haley Horvath is bonded.
Okay. All right, I do find that there was sufficient probable cause in his case, set bonds, $2,000 count one, $150 count two on Mr. Lawson. All right, your name, sir? All right, Mr. Lewis. You are here. You're arrested on 7 different charges. Count 1, fraudulent use or criminal use of personal identification information with intent to defraud. Count 2, the same. Count 3, burglary of a conveyance. Count 4, unlawful possession of personal identification information of another. Count 5 the same, count 6 petty theft, and count 7 criminal mischief. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. This was based on an affidavit to issue a warrant. And the other judge found there was sufficient probable cause. Bonds set are as follows. In count 1, $1,000. Count 2, $1,000. The burglary in count 3, $3,000. Count 4, fraudulent impersonation, $1,000. Count 5, the same, $1,000. Petty theft, $1,000. And criminal mischief, $1,000. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you on all of those new charges. And you were out on bond for a burglary of a conveyance, criminal mischief, petty theft. I'll revoke that bond and set no bond on those. And I will appoint a public defender if you didn't already have one in that case. Looks like they must be, yeah, there's already someone in it. Thank you. Your name, sir?
Michael Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of fleeing and attempting to elude with lights and sirens and driving while license suspended. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. As to the fleeing, attempting to elude, I'll set bond the amount of $1,500 and count 2, driving while license suspended. Set bond the amount of $500. Require that you not operate a motor vehicle in streets and highways without a valid Florida driver's license. If you do set bond, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name, sir? Mr. Noel, you're here today. You're here because you were arrested on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Bond set in the amount of $2,500. No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. That's the conditions of your bond. Also, you're not to return to the Pipe and Pouch Smoke Shop at 59 North Orange Avenue. And you're not to have any contact.
Avery Jordan Batistine.
Yeah, with the alleged victim, Avery Jordan Batistine, Batistine, no contact with them. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Ask for a motion for speedy trial.
What's that?
Speedy trial.
I can't,
I think he's trying to invoke speedy trial, Your Honor.
oh, yeah, well, you gotta talk to your lawyer about that. Okay? They can file that if they think it's appropriate.
I'm asking for it. I want it. I don't want a PD.
Well, you have a lawyer. It's a nullity. Your lawyer has to file that.
Lawyer has to file it.
Just talk to them. They'll listen to you.
What about if I want to represent myself?
That wouldn't be a good idea.
Why wouldn't it?
Because you know what you're facing?
I did 11 days for no reason.
What's that?
I did 11 days in jail for no reason.
Well, if you don't, I appoint a public defender now. If you don't want a public defender, you can ask that the public defender be withdrawn at a later date. Okay?
I don't want one. I'm saying it on a document.
Okay. Then write the judge.
I'm not writing shit.
All right. Then you have a public defender. Say that again, and you're going to be doing some extra time in jail. Your name, sir?
Phillips.
Mr. Phillips, you're here today because you were arrested on charge of possession of cocaine and petty theft. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. As to the possession of cocaine, the bond is $1,000, and the petty theft is $500. Did you want to have a public defender appointed?
Yes, Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
The drugs I didn't actually have drugs on me. It was just a piece of paraphernalia that had some substances in it. There was nothing else on me.
Well, unfortunately for you, case law in the state of Florida says that if there's paraphernalia and there is the substances on the paraphernalia, doesn't matter how much, just enough, if there's enough and it tests positive, then you can't be charged with the possession of cocaine. Now, that doesn't mean that the state may not file it. It's possible that they won't go forward on that. But as it stands now, all we've got to do is find probable cause. That's all I'm doing today. I'm not saying that they can convict you. I'm not saying there's enough evidence that they can convict you. I'm just saying that there's probable cause. Okay?
Well, so I have to stay here?
Well, unless you bond out. Yeah, the bond is...
Nobody will bond me out.
Well, then you probably will. Yeah, that's gonna happen. But talk to your lawyer. They may be able to see what they can do about it. In other words, if they file a motion or something for you.
What happened to Pacheco? 220. Okay, and one more, Johnson from traffic. 22017831. Thank you.
Your name, sir?
Las Ramon?
All right. Mr. Rahman, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of reckless driving causing serious bodily injury. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Bond is set.
Your Honor,
Yep.
for the record, we'd like to object to the probable cause with serious bodily injury. We don't find it amounts to a substantial risk of death.
It
It is
was,
alleged that he suffered an epileptic attack, transported to the hospital. The other two had minor injuries. He felt like his internal organs were out of place. He was unable to leave his vehicle without assistance. They would argue that's enough for PC at this time.
yeah, I mean, it's not really going to make a difference from the perspective of, I mean, it's either reckless or reckless with serious bodily injury. I mean, the bottom line is he was transported. So I'm going to set bond in the amount of $1,000, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Do not operate a motor vehicle without a valid Florida driver's license. Okay?
So, I paid bond of $2,500, I believe, already. I don't know.
I think he has a hold, so if he paid.
What's the hold for?
Out of county.
Container is for an out-of-county, Lake County.
Oh, so well, Lake County's holding you. So if you are, so did you already bond on our charge? Did you already bond that
I,
on the 2,500? Because I was reducing it to 1,000, but
yeah, I'm not sure my wife,
she probably, well,
It's not in our system yet, Your Honor.
yeah, we don't have it in there yet. If she hasn't, now it's 1,000 instead of 2,500.
also,
But there is a hold on Lake County, so you bond here, that means we call Lake County and Lake County will come get you. You're not gonna, unless, well, no, they got a hold. You're not just gonna walk out of the jail here.
no,
No, because Lake County's got to deal with you. They put a hold on you.
Have it at a no bond.
And that's a no bond out of there.
wow. Okay, but even though it was cleared up and they're just late on filing it in the system,
Could be, I don't know.
because on July 19th, my lawyer took care of it.
Well, I would contact your lawyer and let him know you're in jail here and that they need to make sure that gets straightened out.
Okay.
Okay? All right, but it's $1,000 here. Your name, sir? Pardon? All right, sir, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of possession of methamphetamine and possession of drug paraphernalia. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Possession of methamphetamine is a $1,000 bond. The paraphernalia is a $100 bond, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name, sir?
Dawson Sapp.
All right, Mr. Sapp, you're here. First of all, because you're arrested on a charge of resisting an officer without violence, I have reviewed the charging affidavit. There is sufficient probable cause. Bond is set in the amount of $500 on that. And there was also you were arrested on 3 charges. Two counts of sexual battery on a child under 12 by a person over 18, and 1 count of lewd and lascivious molestation. There is no bond on those, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Your Honor, in the meantime, the state would ask for no contact with the victim or the victim's family.
Yeah, even it wouldn't even be a condition of bond, but yeah, I'm going to order that you have no contact with, first of all, you're not, well, that was at a hotel, but you're not to have any contact with the alleged victim, as well as her sister. I don't have any names. So no contact with the alleged victim or or the family, as it stands now. All right, and as I said, I'll appoint a public defender on everything for you. Alrighty.
Trisha Shorter bonded. Harry Smith Jr.
In Mr. Smith's case, I do find sufficient probable cause. As to the aggravated fleeing, attempting, set bond amount of $2,000. Grand theft, third-degree motor vehicle, $2,000. Resisting officer out of violence, $500, and no valid driver's license, $500. Your name, sir?
Armstrong Zion.
All right, Mr. Zion, you're here today because you're arrested on a couple of charges, 3 to be exact. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. Grand theft, third degrees, first count, there's $5,000 bond. Possession of forged notes or bills, $2,000, and scheme to defraud, $2,000. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that last part?
Pardon?
Could you repeat that last part?
Sure. I appointed a public defender, so you have a lawyer.
Your Honor, would also ask for no contact, no return to the Family Dollar.
No contact to any witnesses and no return to, was it
The Family Dollar.
Family Dollar store? Yeah, so it's 9,000 is the bond, and you also have, and I appointed a lawyer for you. So it's 5,000, 2,000, 2,000. Okay? All right. Your name, sir? Mr. Zayon, you're here today because you're arrested for 2 charges. Possession of cannabis, less than 20 grams, and scheme to defraud. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and as to count 1, scheme to defraud, $2,000 bond and $200 bond on the possession of cannabis. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you, so you have a lawyer.
Your Honor, this is the co-defendant of the prior
And,
case.
Yeah, no contact with any co-defendants or witnesses, and you're not to go back to the Family Dollar store if you do bond out. Okay?
Your Honor,
All
I
right.
do believe the co-defendants are brothers.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they live together, but for the no contact, that's all.
just not to have any contact. He's Elijah, and Alexander was the one we just had. Yeah. Yeah, Armstrong.
Often.
And then there,
You got appointed.
ZE, thank you.
Zeyon. And then also there was another guy co-defendant, it was the Roe. Roe was also involved in it.
Zion.
That's it.
Right, Judge, I believe that's all I have. May I be excused?
Yes, you may. See you in the morning.
This is yours. Thank you.
See, that's what time, we gotta be finished by about 1 o'clock tomorrow. Let's go to the state attorney's office for the new hires. The new hires at the state attorney's office are having their little program tomorrow. And I'm one of the speakers. Do you know what they make now? Starting, both PDs and state attorney? 60.
Actually, PD is starting at 63.
Is it 60? Oh.
Yeah, well, that's
Oh,
what
I was
one-
just, because Kathy was just saying how.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Rafael Barrera, State Certified Court Interpreter. Actually have not been sworn this morning, Your Honor.
Alrighty.
Do you swear to translate from English to Spanish, Spanish to English, testimonies given?
I do, once again, for the record, Rafael Barrera, State Certified Court Interpreter.
All right, defendant is wearing the headset.
Your Honor, the interpreter can confirm this defendant is able to hear through the headsets.
All right, your name, sir?
Amilcar Ismael Domingo. Okay. Amilcar Ismael Domingo. Mhm.
Amilcar Ismael Domingo Domingo.
All right, sir, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of aggravated battery on a pregnant person, domestic violence, and a domestic violence battery. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. Were you living at 4759 South Texas Avenue?
Yes.
All right, and were you living there with Karina, or does she live somewhere else?
Sí. Estamos viviendo juntos.
We're living together.
All right, do you have anywhere else to go? Because you can't go back, since she's not here, I'm not going to allow you to have contact with her, at least on the short term. So do you have another place that you can go to live?
Sí, claro, tengo.
Yes, of course I do.
Okay. All right, I'll set bond on the count one as to $1,000, count two, $500. No contact with Karina. And let me see, get her last name. Yes. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. You can return to the, no return to
Sí, claro, gracias.
the 475.
Yes, of course, thank you.
All right, you can't return there. You can go back there one time with, if you take law enforcement with you to get any personal items you may need at your new address, but you're not to have any contact with her, okay?
Okay, okay. Gracias.
Okay, okay.
All right. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Pardon? Oh, yeah. Do you guys want to announce yourself for the record?
Taylor Fleming on behalf of the Office of the State Attorney.
Katie Siciliano, Office of the Public Defender.
Your Honor, the interpreter can respectfully request the case number for this defendant.
Sure, that was 2022 CF 8908AO.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Next defendant is wearing your headset.
Your Honor, the interpreter can confirm this defendant is able to hear through the headsets.
Are your name, sir?
Carlos Antonio García Asensio. García Asensio. Sí.
Carlos Antonio Garcia Asensio.
All right, sir. You're here today on you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. Have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. And do you have another place to go other than 2412 Carlton Drive?
Sí, sí, tengo.
Yes, I do.
All right. I'll set bond amount of $500. I'll allow you to return to the 2412 Carlton Drive one time with law enforcement to pick up any personal items you may need. You're not to have any contact with Maria Maldonado. That's no contact. Can't call her, can't text her. Is she here? No? And no contact at this point in time. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. All right, your name, ma'am?
My name is Maria Maldonado.
And you are the Maria Maldonado that's married to Mr. Asensio?
Yes, sir.
All right, what do you want? What do you want to tell me?
Well, I just want to drop the charges. I never put charges.
Or you're gonna have to speak up. It's hard to hear
I
you.
never put charges to him, so I just want to drop everything.
All right, so you don't have any problem if he comes home?
Yeah, I don't have no problem. He come home.
All right, well, I can order that he not have any hostile contact if he does come home. All right, that means he can't raise his voice, can't raise a fist to you, can't do anything, okay?
Okay, thank you.
That's what you want?
Yes.
All right. Okay, Mr. Asensio, what I'll do then, actually, you do qualify for pretrial release. I can release you pretrial, or I can set you a bond of $500. That's up to you. Pretrial release has some conditions. You have to check in with them on a regular basis, and they may drug test you. But you don't have to post a bond. Do you want to do that, or do you want to just have a $500 bond?
Agarra una fianza.
Pay a fine. I'll pay a bond.
Okay. Set bond amount of $500. No hostile contact with Maria Maldonado. I will allow you to go back to the house. All right. But you can't have any hostile contact with her. Nothing hostile at all. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. And that's 2022 MM 5117AO. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is there anyone here on the Villarreal Gonzalez case? No?
Sí, sí, lo escucho.
All right, your name, sir?
Adel Villarroel.
Adel Villarreal.
All right, sir, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. And there's no one here on that case. Okay. Do you have another place to go other than 10214 Falcon Moss Lane? Another place to live?
Sí, tengo otro lugar donde quedar.
Yes, I have somewhere else to stay.
All right. Okay, I will set bond the amount of $500 not to return to 10214 Falcon Moss Lane, number 207. If you can go back there one time with law enforcement to pick up any personal items that you may need. You're not to have any contact with Jose Maria Chavez. No contact whatsoever. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Our DCF is also called.
Okay, if because DCF is involved, if there's any orders or anything in DCF, you need to follow that as well. Okay, whatever they order as far as contact with the child. Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Your Honor, could the interpreter have the case number for this last defendant, please?
Sure. 2022 MM 5125AO.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, the interpreter can confirm this defendant is able to hear through the headsets.
All righty. Your name, ma'am?
Roxana Lopez Leon.
Roxana Lopez Leon.
All right, ma'am. You're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. You were staying at 1025 Maxey Drive. Is that where you would intend to go, or want to? You have any other place to stay other than that address?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess the alleged victim is your husband, Gilberto Sanchez Landa. Is that your husband?
Mi novio solamente.
My boyfriend, just my boyfriend.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, he's not here, so I'm going to have to order that you not have any contact with him, at least on the short term, until there's the domestic violence judge may change that. But for right now, you're not going to have any contact with him. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll set bond the amount of $500. I'll order that you not return to 1025 Maxey Drive unless you go one time with law enforcement, so that you can get your personal items. So you can get a police officer or a deputy to go with you. They'll let you get your clothes and any toiletries, anything that you may need, your personal items, but only one time. Not to have any contact with Gilberto Sanchez Landa, Landa. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. And that's case number 2022 MM 447 AW.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is that it for the interpreters? That's it for the interpreters? Yes? No more? All righty. Thank you, sir.
Have a good morning, Your Honor.
Back to the top. Your name, ma'am?
Diana Bernal.
All right, Ms. Bernal, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of domestic violence by strangulation and battery domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. You have another place to go other than the Millennia Lakes Boulevard address?
No, that's where I live.
And, does Ruby live there also?
No, sir.
She has another place to live.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, her address is coming back to that same
Your Honor, They
address.
provided the same address.
They did. She gave the same address as your address, though.
I'm not sure why. She doesn't live with me. She has no property there.
Your Honor, state would just ask that you set the condition of separate residences.
Yeah, all right.
Um,
Okay, I'm gonna require that you not have any contact with, Ruby Jaramillo, Jaramillo. No contact whatsoever, and you must have a separate residence. So if she's there, you can't be there, okay? I'll set bond, actually, you do qualify for pretrial release. I can release you without having to post a bond, but there are conditions that come along with PTR. You have to check in with them from time to time. They'll probably drug test you. There's some stuff that you have to do, or you can just do a $500 bond.
That's fine, whatever.
Which one?
Say the other one. What are the conditions?
Pretrial release, well, it's not the only conditions, but those are the ones that people seem to have the most problems with. They're gonna drug test you, and you have to call in. You have to check in with them from time to time.
I'll do the $500 bond.
All right, $500 bond.
Your Honor, it's a felony. And there's two.
Oh, wait, that's on count two. $1,000 on count one. And no contact with Ruby Jaramillo. Separate residence must be maintained. No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. And I will appoint a public defender. Does that change your mind at all? Because it is two counts, so it's 1,000 on one and 500 on the other.
No, sir.
Still want the bond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Will do.
It's over here.
And Your Honor, were we appointed to that case?
Yes. Your name, sir?
Alonzo Burns Sr.
What was the last name? I'm sorry.
Burns Sr.
Okay, gotcha. All right, Mr. Burns, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of domestic violence by strangulation. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Let me see. And do you have another place to go? Let me make sure this is the one. Was your girlfriend living with you at the Town Square address?
No, she was not. She currently resides at the Coalition, but she stayed with me a few nights.
All right, well, she can't stay with you. If I let you go back there, she can't be there. Or more importantly, really, I don't have any control over what she does. I can't order her not to be there, but I can order you not to be there, okay? So she can't live there. All right, and if she is living there, you can't live there. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll set bond in the amount of $1,000 and order that you have no contact with Tamara Williams.
Yes.
No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Thank
Okay?
you.
All righty.
Is that a separate residence, is Your Honor, then?
Yeah, separate residence if she is there.
All right, thank you.
Maintain separate residence.
Awesome.
All these people out there, no one seems to be for any of these cases. They're just coming to watch today. Your name?
Giselle Ruiz Torres.
All right, ma'am, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence with one prior. Let me see, this might have been the one. And you're arrested on a arrest warrant signed by a judge. Do you, were you living at the 6004 Peregrine Avenue? That's your address?
Yes, it's my permanent address for the past 15 years,
All right.
but I reside at 5055 Vineland currently.
Okay, so you don't have to, and where does Mr. Tursky live?
6006 Peregrine.
So that's where he is, so you don't have to go back there then?
No.
Gotcha, all right. And you don't have any reason to have any contact with him? You don't have any kids or anything?
I'm aware.
All right, so I will, no. I'll set bond in the amount of $750. No contact with Bernard Tursky, is it Tursky? Yeah. No contact whatsoever with him. You must maintain a separate residence from him, as well as not have any contact, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender on that.
Your Honor, can we also be appointed to the misdemeanor case that she's out on bond on?
If I look at this, am I going to find out that the criminal mischief of the alleged victim is the same person? Is that possible? State no?
It's a different person, Your Honor. However, it's also a Peregrine Avenue address.
All right,
It
all right.
has
I'll leave that bond in place and I'll appoint a public defender on that case as well. That bond is set at $500. All right, so you got a public defender on both cases now?
Your Honor, no action on the out on bond?
Yeah, no action. I will appoint a PD for him, though, since apparently she didn't have one. Your name, sir?
Anthony Shears.
All right, Mr. Shearer, you're here today because you're arrested on 2 charges: aggravated assault, domestic violence, and burglary of an occupied dwelling, an attempt. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find sufficient probable cause on both of those. Now, that's the Tanbeer Drive residence, that's not your residence, right? Is that your mom and your sister live there?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're not supposed to be there at all. So ordering you not to go there shouldn't be a problem. You don't have any items there or anything, do you?
Yes, I do, sir.
All right.
Your Honor, I believe it stated within the affidavit that he does not. He moved out approximately 3 years ago, and his mother keeps having issues of him coming back unwelcome.
Yeah, I noticed in there it seemed like there was one point they mentioned there was items, and another one they mentioned that there wasn't. You can go with law enforcement one time. All right, I'll set bond on the aggravated assault amount of $1,000, the burglary of occupied dwelling amount of $1,000. And you're not to return to 7800 Tanbeer Drive. You can go there one time if you have stuff. All right, and I'm not talking about you got, some old books in a box. No. If you got clothes there or you have items that you need for your day-to-day life, yes. But anything else, you're not to go. But you have to go, if you do that, you got to go with law enforcement. You can't go on your own. You take an officer or a deputy with you. You're not to have any contact with your mother or your sister. Joy Ann Sterling White and I think Summer White, isn't that right? Is that your sister?
Summers.
All right. No contact with them. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you on this.
Thank you, sir.
Your attorney within 1 week, call that number,
Your name, sir?
Roger Stuffelbeam.
Okay, I got a problem with this one is that it doesn't establish what her age is in the affidavit at any point. And the charges, you're here because you're arrested on a charge of battery on a person over 65?
Yes, sir.
And I looked at it twice, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either, Your Honor.
Your Honor, on the witness form, which is a part of the affidavit, it does state her age. Just it would contend that that's enough for PC at this point. As it is part of the sworn affidavit.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Stuffelbaum, do you have another place to go other than the Fifth Avenue address?
Yes, sir.
Where are you going to go?
Probably my sister's.
Okay, all right. I'll set bond the amount of $500. You're not to have any contact with your wife at this point in time, with Jeannie, okay? Since they're not here to indicate, and also, I guess, with your daughter, no, it was a neighbor, wasn't it? Adriana Weaver.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law.
Yeah, okay, no contact with her either. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And you can return to that address one time with law enforcement so that you can pick up any items you may need, clothing or anything like that you need in your day-to-day life. Can't take TVs or furniture, but just anything you might need just for the day-to-day, okay? And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Now, you do qualify for pretrial release. I could put you on pretrial release if you want that instead. There wouldn't require a bond. But there are conditions that go along with that. You have to check in with them time to time. They'll drug test you, and there's some other stuff. You just want to do a bond, or do you want a pretrial release?
Pre-trial release.
All right,
sir.
pretrial release. I'll set bond at 500, just if you don't want to do that, that's an option, or in the alternative. Okay? All righty, thank you, sir.
500 of PTR?
Yep.
Thank you.
Your name, sir?
Ronnie Webb.
All right, Mr. Webb, you're here because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence, and with one prior, and an assault. Or actually, it's 2 counts. And that was the other, on this one, State, I didn't see where there's any allegation in the charging affidavit that he did have a prior. It might have just been that that's how it got punched out when it came. The prior conviction for battery, I didn't see anything in there.
He does have a prior, Your Honor. However, I don't believe the officer
All right.
put it within the affidavit, so it would just ask that you set bond. As for a battery DV, take it to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just set it as a battery. I mean, it probably wouldn't make that much of a difference.
It would just ask that you take into account that he does have prior history with this same victim, does have a prior Batleo conviction.
Yeah, he's out on that right now.
And he's also out on other battery charges as well, so it seems to be an ongoing issue for Mr. Webb.
All right, Mr. Webb, this didn't happen at your residence or at your, or the alleged victim's residence. This was on Lee Road. So do you have a separate residence from the alleged victim? Where do you live?
6222 Oakcrest Circle.
Okay. And Sierra Lockwood, she lives in a different place? Okay. All right, as to count 1, set bond amount of $500, count 2, $500. No contact whatsoever with Sierra Lockwood. Can't call her, can't go to her house, can't do anything. No contact whatsoever. No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. Let's see, you're also out on bond. Has that been filed on?
Yes, Your Honor, back in November of 2021. And it is a resisting with and Batleo. And I believe Ms. Lockwood was a witness to that incident.
All right, I'm going to revoke those bonds. There's no bond on that. And I'll appoint a public defender in both cases if you don't have one in the other case.
Did you do it?
Yep.
For the domestics, if you were to order the PTR when you're telling the stuff, it's going to be an office visit for domestics.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
Just something.
Yeah.
So they know.
This is the main one.
So I go to court on the 10th, so I got a bond for it, so the bond.
Your name, ma'am?
Jocelyn Alteen.
Ms. Altine, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of domestic violence battery. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. The Beacon Hill address, is that where you live?
Yes.
Yes? And do you have another place to go? And all it was, what's his name?
Your Honor, she has a victim.
Oh, there you go. Raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Your name?
Oliver Moise.
You're gonna have to bend down a little bit and get on the microphone. All right, and you are the alleged victim in this case?
Yes.
All right, what do you want to tell me?
Okay. We've been dating for 5 months, okay? But she kept lying. The thing that happened, I can say on Sunday yesterday, I was on the senior Fort, okay? That's the place. And she was texting me. She asked me where we were. I said, I'm on senior Fort, and she
Okay,
was.
well, you know what, hold on just a second. Let me just stop you because it looks like, did they send the case through to you, to the state attorney's office, looks like? Because they've got a V/D for both. So I don't want, you know, sir, I don't want you to say anything that could be used against you. There's a possibility that the state may be filing charges against you as well. All right, they just found that she was the primary aggressor, I assume, at this time.
I don't have anything in my system yet, Your Honor, however, since it's so new.
Yeah, it looks like they're sending,
Possible.
it appears they're sending it through. I think it says at the end. Yeah, charges will be filed with the state attorneys against V/D1. Just a second. Ma'am, do you have another place to go other than the Beacon Hill address? In other words, do you have another place to stay? You have to speak up.
No, I don't, sir.
No. And does he live there too?
No.
He does not. That's your address.
Yes, that's my address.
All right, so he doesn't live there. All right. And do you want to have contact with her?
No.
Okay, that's easy. Then that works out. That's fine. Okay. All right, just a second. I will set bond the amount of $500 for you. You're not to have any contact with the alleged victim. All right, no contact with him, which sounds like he doesn't want contact, so you shouldn't want contact. You can go back to your Beacon Hill address, okay? You can go back there, but you must maintain a separate address. So if he's there, living there, which it shouldn't be, sounds like from what you said, you'll have to have a different place, but you have to maintain a separate domicile from him, okay? No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. All right, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Thank you, sir. So she's not to have any contact with you, all right?
Thank you.
Just give them about a week for you to call, okay? That's your public defender. Call that number. Yes, and that's how much the bond is. So, because it only takes 10%. There's- You'll have to call the bondsman. They'll help you with that.
Thank you so much.
No.
All right, your name, sir?
Jose Alvarez.
All right, Mr. Alvarez, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of battery, domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find sufficient probable cause. Do you have somebody here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, looks like it's his brother. All right, sir, raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your name, sir?
Jose Alvarez.
All right, Mr. Alvarez, you're the alleged victim in this case, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you want to tell me? Do you want to have contact with your brother?
Yes.
You don't have any problem with him? You guys live together at the Pineapple Drive address?
Yes.
Okay, so he'd be okay if he were to come home?
Yes.
All right. Now, I can order that he not have any hostile contact with you, all right? So that he not raise his fist or raise his voice or yell or scream or anything like that. You understand?
Yes, but that wouldn't be a problem.
All right. Okay, Mr. Alvarez, You do qualify for pretrial release. Now, pretrial release, you have to go in and meet with your pretrial release officer. They'll probably drug test you, and there's some conditions, or I can set a bond of $500. Which one did you want?
They set a bond.
Okay, I'll set a bond amount of $500, and I will allow you to return home. No hostile contact with your brother, with Jose Alejandro Alvarez, okay? No hostile contact. It means you can't yell at him, can't throw anything at him, can't do anything like that. You understand? All right, no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Thank you, sir. Your name, sir?
Kenneth Chooks.
All right, Mr. Chooks, you're here today because you're arrested on the charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Let's see. Okay, so you and your girlfriend, or former girlfriend, Jessie, were living together at Bonneville Drive?
Yes, sir.
And is she still living there?
Well, he
I'm sorry.
left and he moved.
He still lives there?
We went to a friend's house. He moved
All right. Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
He's provided that address as his.
You gave a different address?
He gave Bonnie Hill as his address also.
Okay. So it's the same?
Yes.
So he gave, when the pretrial release folks, the services called, they said that he still used that address?
I know that night he was leaving to go to a friend's house.
All right, do you have another place to go?
I do not, sir.
Well, I can't let you go there and live if he's there. Because he's not here to say that's okay, and he's the alleged victim. So either you have another place to go, or you're gonna have to go to a hotel or something. Okay? Because I'll order that you maintain a separate residence from Jesse Lyle.
So,
You can't be in the same place as him.
I can probably go to a hotel until he leaves.
All right. Well, if he's not at this 1964 Bonneville Drive, in other words, he's moved, then it's okay for you to be there. Because I'm going to order that you keep a separate residence from Jesse Lyle. And you're not to have any contact with Jesse Lyle. That means no good contact, bad contact. You can't talk to him at all, can't phone him, can't text him, can't do anything. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll set bond amount of $500. Keep a separate residence from Jesse Lyle. No contact whatsoever with Jesse Lyle. No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. And I will appoint the public defender to represent you.
Sir, and he is out on bond and out on probation.
He's out, I see he's out on bond on the no motorcycle license. I'm not gonna bother with that. I'll leave that in place.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
He also has reporting instructions, HRSO.
I don't have that.
Yes, to report his address.
So he's on probation for,
A sex offense, Your Honor, as of June 30th. So for approximately a month.
but there's not been a violation filed. No onsite or anything, huh? There's nothing. Let me see. All I have is the motorcycle license. So I don't have anything to, there's nothing in front of me, so. They can violate them if they want to violate them, that's up to them. So, no action. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, these ones, I think it's the one. Did you look at the charging affidavit on this case?
There's,
It's one sentence.
yeah. Your Honor, state would just ask for a 24-hour reset, but has no objection to you setting a bond in the meantime in case
Okay.
either would like to bond.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, I saw that, I was like, I can't imagine how did that happen?
It's usually, this person came on scene later and was whatever reason designated the arresting officer, so that's the report we got, even though they weren't the arresting officer.
All right, so we got two folks here. Your name, ma'am?
Beverly
Last name?
Gonzalez.
Your name, sir?
Matthew Gonzalez.
All right, you guys were both arrested on battery, domestic violence charges. The charging affidavit is not sufficient, okay, for me to find probable cause. Now, in that situation, when the state, the affidavit isn't sufficient, then the state can request 24 hours. Now, the problem with that is if they request 24 hours, then there's no bond set in your case until tomorrow. So, if you guys are willing to waive that, I'll set a bond for both of you, all right? And we can move on, and if they decide to file it, they can file it. If they don't, they don't. But if they request 24 hours and I give them 24 hours and they still don't have sufficient, then tomorrow I would probably release you without a bond, but you're gonna have to stay in for a day. So, do you want to waive that finding so I can just go ahead and set a bond for you and go from there?
Yes.
Ma'am?
I'll wait.
Okay, all right. Now, second question is, I assume that you guys both live together at that University Boulevard address, is that right?
Yes.
And do you have a problem with being together at that address?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, so neither one of you has fear of the other. You're gonna be fine. Now, I'm gonna order that you not have any hostile contact. That means you can't yell at each other, you can't throw anything at each other, you can't do anything hostile whatsoever, okay? Now, it looks like, Mr. Gonzalez, you qualify for pretrial release, which would not require a bond, no cash bond, but there are conditions. You'd have to report into the pretrial release department, go see them. They're gonna drug test you, and there's some other conditions. You do not qualify for whatever reason, Ms. Gonzalez, so that's not
She was in safe book, so we just
Oh,
didn't get a chance.
so she probably would. But I can set a bond of 500 for each of you if you don't want to have to worry about the conditions, and then we can go from there.
I'll do the pretrial release.
All right, so I'll release, Mr. Gonzalez, pretrial release. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol, okay? And you can have contact, but it can't be hostile, so no hostile contact with Beverly,
Yes, Your Honor.
all right? And obviously, you can return to your home. I'll appoint a public defender to represent Mr. Gonzalez. And to Ms. Gonzalez, I'll set a bond of $500. No hostile contact with Matthew, all right? No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol, you can return. I will appoint the conflict counsel to represent you. I can't, you want a lawyer appointed, I assume? Ma'am?
I'll take.
Yeah, you do. But the public defender would have a conflict. In other words, they can't represent you both. So there's an office that does conflict work, and I'll appoint them. So, I won't know who that lawyer is.
Or usually you just point the PD, allow.
Just go ahead now. All right, I'll appoint the public defender, but they're gonna withdraw.
Will conflict depending on which
Yeah,
one they have conflict.
that'll be Adam's problem, then he can sign you. Okay? All righty, you guys.
Thank you.
It was waived. There was no, based on the affidavit, but they waived the finding so they could have a bond, so. I guess they stipulated to PC. Maybe you could put it that way. I don't know. That's a good question. It was literally one sentence. They were married and he did batter her. They were married and she did batter her. Like, what? Let's see. We got a full house out there. Good morning. Your name, sir? All right, Mr. Harmon, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find sufficient probable cause. And you don't live with Gina McLeod Turner, or do you? No. All right. And do you live at the Mercy Drive address?
Yes, sir.
Where do you live?
728 North Lakewood Avenue.
All right, is that her address, the Mercy Drive?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have any reason, do you have any stuff there?
No, sir.
So You have no reason to go there?
sir.
Perfect, okay.
Your Honor, state would just bring your attention, he does have a fairly significant bat DV history. He had a prior 22 bat DV. That was from March. It was same victim. It was declined to prosecute. He has another 2021 non-arrest bat DV. It was declined to prosecute by the victim, same victim. 2021 misdemeanor bat DV. Same victim. 2021 stalking, same victim. 2020 non-arrest bat DV, same victim. 2019 bat DV by strangulation, same victim. 2018 misdemeanor non-arrest bat DV, same victim, and I can keep going, Your Honor, but.
What happened in all those cases? Nothing? They just, the state never
She-
filed them, or?
She was unwilling.
Kinda, I have an idea where this one's gonna go, I guess.
Not this time.
Huh?
Not again. I promise I'm not.
Well, you know, you ever heard the term, you're talking about people being oil and water? You know, if you put oil and water, they don't mix, right? They'll separate. Sounds like that's what the situation is here. I'm not casting aspersion. I'm not saying you did anything or you didn't do anything. But you know, the old, where there's smoke, there's fire. That's another thing. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You guys had your problems in the last 2 or 3 years. And maybe you're oil and water, maybe you don't need to be with her, because I'll set a bond in this case, but you can't be with her. If you go and you're with her, you're going back to jail. Okay? You will go to jail and there'll be no bond because you violated my order, okay? All right, I'll set bond amount of $500. You're not to have any contact with Gina McLeod Turner. If she calls you, you hang the phone up. If she texts you, you block her. Okay? No contact. All right, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And again, the 1724 Mercy Drive is your address? That's her. So you're not to go back there then. You don't need to go there, okay? No contact with her and no return to that address.
Yes, sir.
I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Does it bond amount? Call this number in about a week. Let's just remind you, don't contact her, okay?
Your name, sir?
Noe Jean Lewis.
All right, sir, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. Were you living at 4616 Lighthouse Circle?
Yes.
And Regina Akins, she lived there too?
Yes.
All right, do you have another place to go other than that? You're gonna have to find another place to go. I'm not gonna, and so, because she's living there, you can't go back there.
Can go to a hotel.
Okay, that's, you're gonna have to, because you can't go back there, okay, if I set a bond. She's not here. If she was here to say it would be okay, that'd be one thing, but she's not, okay?
The officer said that you guys was gonna contact her, but in the affidavit she said she don't want to get locked up. She don't want nothing up to me. It just was a misunderstanding. That's what it was. And the cops came because the neighbors called, and they had to lock someone up. So
Well, I mean, I think that they arrested you because they listened to what supposedly occurred and made a determination that you were primary aggressor and saw that she had injuries, so. But be that as it may, I'll set bond amount of $500, okay? You're not to have any contact with Ms. Akins, okay? No contact. And what's her full name? Regina Haslam Akins, no contact. Can't talk to her, can't phone her, can't text her, nothing, okay? And the Lighthouse Drive, the Circle address, again, that's your address?
Yes.
And she doesn't live there?
She's
Is she there now, you think? All right, well, you're not to return there. You're to keep separate residence from Miss Akins. Okay, if she's gone and isn't living there, then you can be there. But if she's still there, because that's where she was living, you can only go back one time with law enforcement. So you got to take a deputy or a police officer with you, and you can get your clothes and get stuff that you need. But you can't live there, okay? So you got to keep a separate residence from her. Hmm?
Even if she don't want me to stay away, or she don't want me to stay away, she say everything's cool, it's still, I must not go back?
Yeah, right now, you can't have any
Right now.
contact with her and can't go back there, all right? Now, if she decides that she wants to have contact, then I'm gonna appoint a public defender to represent you. You need to put her in contact with them so that they can let the state know that she wants contact. But that's gonna be up to the other judge. That's gonna be up to the domestic violence judge to make that determination. All right, again, no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol, and no contact at all with her at this point in time. All right, and keep a separate residence from her. Your name, sir?
Mitchell Vincent McFarland.
All right, Mr. McFarland, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of battery, domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Is there anyone on this case? Where are all these people for? The Buttercup Lane address, is that where you were living?
That's where I reside, yeah.
And does Hillary live there also?
No, she does not.
Where is she living?
She lives on Breslin Drive, which is almost out of the neighborhood.
Okay. So there wouldn't be any problem with me ordering no contact with her. And she's not gonna, she doesn't live at that address, so you can go back to Buttercup.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, you do qualify for pretrial release. Did you want me to give you a pretrial release with conditions, or do you just want a $500 bond?
The pretrial release would be nice.
Okay.
It would be helpful so I can get school clothes shopping done.
All right, I'll release your PTR. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol, no contact whatsoever with Hillary McFarland. And that's your sister, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, no contact with her. That can be changed at some later on if it works out that way, but at this point, no contact.
We'll keep it that way for you.
All right, and keep a separate residence, and just in case if she is at that house. Okay? Want a public defender?
Can you give me a rundown on PTR? You're just gonna release to myself?
No, they'll come and explain to you. You're gonna have to go and meet with them. They may drug test you. They will drug test you. And then you have to meet with them, I think once a month until the case is done.
Really?
Yeah.
What happens if I bond out?
If you bond out, then you gotta follow the conditions of the bond. No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. All right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All righty, good luck. Your name, sir?
Sedaris Miller.
Mr. Miller, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find sufficient probable cause. And the Commander Drive, is that where you're living?
No, that's not where I live at, sir.
Okay. Is that where Christopher lives?
Yes.
Okay. And so you don't have any reason to go over to that address? Do you have stuff there?
He invited me over to come hang out, but I don't stay with him no more.
Okay. But do you have things at the Commander Drive that you would need to go and pick up? So you had no reason at all to go there?
I don't want to go over there no more.
Perfect. That works out for me. All right, so I will set bond amount of $500. I'm going to order that you have no contact with Christopher, and that's Cristofer, Puerto Real, Portorreal, Puerto Real. No contact with him whatsoever. Can't phone him, can't call, can't text him, nothing, okay? No FaceTime, nothing like that. No return to 5075 Commander Drive, apartment 1233. No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
Are you signing?
Yep.
He was showing active state probation, but when I went to the DOC website.
There wasn't anything?
There's information in there, and they didn't put a non-view or anything, so.
Okay.
This is the public defender's office number, just give us a call in about a week, and that's your bond amount.
Thank you.
All righty. Your name, ma'am?
Jessica Nieto?
All right, ma'am, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of domestic violence battery. Raise your hand, please, sir. solemnly swear testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Your name?
Jeremiah Worth.
All right, and are you the alleged victim in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And who is Ms. Nieto to you?
My fiance.
Okay. Tell me what you want me to hear.
Your Honor, I am not afraid of Miss Nieto, and I do want contact. I would like her to return to our home.
Is that the Sherrington Road address?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And I would like the state to drop all charges.
Okay. Well, that's a separate issue. Today, we're just dealing with whether she should be released and under what conditions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you can contact the state attorney's office about that second part. All right, that's who you speak to, the state attorney with that, okay?
Yes.
But as far as this goes, then you have no objection to her coming back home with you?
Not at all.
Okay. She does qualify for pretrial release, so I could give her those conditions where she doesn't have to actually post a bond, but she will have to go and meet with the PTR officers, and they will drug test her. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Is that okay, ma'am? Okay. All right, I'll release you with pretrial release conditions. No hostile contact. So she can't raise her fist to you, can't yell at you, can't scream at you, can't throw something when you're around there, nothing like that, okay? If she's hostile to you, that's a violation, and then she's back in jail, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
Your DCF was also contacted.
All right, and if there's a DCF enters an order in this case, dealing with visitation or anything like that, you need to follow whatever the conditions of DCF are, okay? Understand?
Yes, sir.
All righty, thank you, guys. Thank you for coming, sir.
Your Honor, Pierre Lewis is mental health.
Okay. Well, I guess we gotta reset them. I know we're not supposed to, but I can't, all right, do you want to waive?
If she's in mental health, yes, Your Honor.
All right, step on $500.
This one?
Yeah, let me get that. No contact with,
You're saying there might be a victim here.
oh. Which case is he here for?
I believe the next one, Your
This is
Honor.
the next.
Okay, just stay there. You can just stay there. Just stay there. We'll deal with this. In Mr. Pierre Louis' case, no return to 7254 Jonquil Drive. No contact with Prinsley Pierre Louis, Prinssley, Pierre Louis, Louis. Looks like there's two. This is another one where it's victim and defense. No drugs, no guns, no weapons, no alcohol.
What was the reason?
Mental health.
You said 500, Your Honor?
Yep. And appoint a public defender. Okay. All right. Come up, ma'am. Your name?
Reitzfeld.
All right, ma'am, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of domestic violence battery. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. All right. Raise your right hand, sir. Solemnly swear testimony I have to give you be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your name?
Joshua Reitzfeld.
All right, and you are the alleged victim in the case?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me what you want to tell me.
We do have a 2-year-old. I'll be taking care of him, I assume. And I just want Brooke to get the help she needs and maybe live with her mom for the time being.
All right, so at this point in time, you don't think it's good for her to come home?
I don't think so.
Okay. And if I order, do you want no contact or do you want no hostile contact? I mean, I can order to maintain separate residence and still keep it no hostile contact so that you guys can talk, but that's
fine,
it
but
can't-
very limited, yes.
Okay, all right. All right, ma'am, you understand that? Okay, so I will, you do qualify for pretrial release. I can set you, I can release you with pretrial conditions, pretrial release conditions, or I can set a bond of $500. The bond has less conditions, but you got to post the bond, you got to get a bondsman. Pretrial release, that you have to meet with your pretrial release officer, and you'll also be drug tested and some other stuff, but there's not a cash requirement.
What's the fastest way?
Pardon, you have to speak up.
What's the fastest way to go home?
Yeah, there's 6 here, half dozen there. They're basically the same. In other words, if you do a bond, you actually got to call a bondsman, but there's a lot of those. And pretrial release, they're in the building, they come, but it'll be about the same.
I'll do the pretrial release, please.
All right, I'll release you with pretrial release conditions. No hostile contact with your husband Joshua. DCF involved? Is there a DCF order?
Not that I saw, Your Honor.
All right. So no hostile contact with him. At this point in time, you're to maintain a separate residence from your husband, Joshua David Wrightsfield. So you can return to 13633 Granger Avenue one time with law enforcement to pick up any kind of items, clothing, toiletries, anything that you may need at the address that you're going to be staying at. Okay? All right. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there no drugs, alcohol, weapons?
Yeah, no drugs, no alcohol. I think I said that before. No? I'm used to hearing it out of my head. Yeah, no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. Now we're getting everyone. Okay, your name, sir?
Rojo Riddenpaw.
Yeah. People coming in or no? All right, sir, you're here today because you were arrested on charge of battery domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Were you living at the Edisto place or Edisto place?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have another place to go other than that?
Yes, my mother's.
Okay. All right. So I will set bond amount of, actually, you do qualify for pretrial release if you wanted to do that, which means they would be released without a cash bond requirement. But there is a requirement they have to meet with your pretrial release officers. They will drug test you, and there may be some other conditions. But there's no money that it doesn't cost you anything.
Okay.
Want to do that, or you want a $500 bond?
I'll just do the bond.
All right, $500 bond. No return to 277 Edisto, Edisto Place. And no contact. Oh, you know what? This is the one where it's just A1V1. So that would be Jessica Sistal Ridenpaw, Ridanpaa. So no contact with her, no drugs, no guns, no weapons, no alcohol. Okay? And I do appoint a public defender for you. All right.
This is the office for the number of the public defender. It just takes some time to open it.
What?
Edgar Rodriguez in Meadow Hill.
All right, you want to waive?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, appoint a public defender on Mr. Rodriguez, set bond amount of $500. No return to 12821 Olton Circle. And no contact with Ashley Rodriguez, alleged victim. No drugs, no alcohol, no guns, no weapons. Can return to the Olton Circle address one time to receive his items as long as he's accompanied with law enforcement. All right. Your name, sir? All right, Mr. Smith, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of battery domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. And were you, yeah, no, this is not the one. Rebecca Brown, you don't have any reason to be in contact with her? Is that?
No, sir.
All right. I'll step on the amount of $500. Maintain separate residence with Rebecca Brown, just in case. You're also not to have any contact with Rebecca Brown or Kiera Thomas, Kierra Thomas. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And no return to the Checkers on West Colonial Drive. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
This is the number for the public. How much your bond is. You didn't qualify for pretrial release. Your bond here is only 10%, it would be $100. So you need to call bondsman. You just didn't, you didn't qualify for pretrial release. There would be $100.
Your name, sir?
George Travis.
Mr. Travis, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. Raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
It is.
Your name, ma'am?
Sana Vitter.
You have to speak up a little bit.
I'm sorry, Sana
All right. And your last name?
Vitter.
Okay, you're the alleged victim in the case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me what you want me to know.
I'm not in fear of my safety at all. We have separate residences. I'm very fine with contact, and I'm going to be posting his bond.
Okay. And so you don't live at the Nella Avenue address?
I have my own residence.
Okay. And you have a separate place to be. Okay. So you don't have any problem with no hostile contact then?
That's fine.
Okay. Understand what that means?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that means that you can't raise your voice to her, you can't scream at her, you can't do anything, can't throw anything in the room, can't be hostile in any way. Okay? And, all right, well then, and you wouldn't have a problem, you want me to order that you keep separate residences, or?
I mean, I'm not in fear of my safety
Okay,
at all.
all right. Then, I will set bond, actually, you do qualify for pretrial release, which would require a cash bond. You want me to do that?
No problem.
Okay, I'll release you with pretrial release conditions. No hostile contact with Sana Vitter, Vitter. No hostile contact, no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is the number for
Your name, sir?
Chance White.
Mr. White, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of violation of domestic violence, and an injunction against domestic violence. Let me get it straight. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. Ma'am, raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
And your name is?
Marissa Siegel.
All right, and you are the individual who has the current domestic violence injunction against Mr. White, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is it that you wanted to tell me?
We have a child together, so I don't know if he's trying to get in contact for our daughter. But he just.
Is DCF involved in that at all? Is there an order in place?
Yes, DCF's involved.
Okay, and I would assume then that, was there any clause or anything in the injunction about childcare or anything like that?
I don't really know. The DCF worker had me fill it out real quick.
Okay, all right, but DCF is involved, and that's a person that they could go through.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so at this point, I assume you don't want, you want the injunction to remain in place, and you don't want any contact with Mr. White, is that right?
If it's in contact for our daughter, that's fine.
Okay. Well, see, therein lies the problem. I mean, I can order that he not have hostile contact with you,
Okay.
and that the only contact he's allowed to have is if it is for, child custody issues.
That's fine, sir.
But then I think that's gonna maybe run into a problem when you do, when's the hearing on the actual injunction? Have you had the hearing yet?
The 9th?
Yeah. Because I think,
State would just ask that you set it at no contact currently on the 9th, that the injunction may change.
yeah, that can be handled. Yeah, I think that's, and quite honestly, Mr. White, it's probably the safest thing for you, is to just order you have no contact with her at this point in time. Now, you could always call DCF and say, hey, I know you're involved with my daughter, what's going on with that? And they will give you that information. And maybe they could set up something for you to have contact with her. But for right now, it's really in your best interest to not have any contact. That way, when you go to your hearing, it's clear that you haven't had any contact since.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you do qualify for pretrial release. I can release you without any bond, but then that, of course, has conditions that go along with it. They're going to drug test you, and you have to meet with your officer. Do you want to do that, or do you want a bond?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Pretrial?
So I'll have to go to the courthouse or?
No, you have to, it's their office.
Okay,
Which one do you want?
I'll do that.
All right. I release you with pretrial release conditions, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. At this point in time, no contact with Marissa Siegel. You can have contact with DCF though about your child, and then they may contact her. But for you right now, not to do that. And then I'm going to order also that you attend the hearing on the domestic violence injunction, which is set for August 9th. Okay, and at that point in time, Ms. Siegel, that's what you want to talk to the judge about, the child and having contact and maybe finding a third party that they can have contact with. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All righty, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Here's the number. Here's the number for the public defender's office. Make sure you attend that hearing tonight. Give us about a week.
All right, your name, sir?
Victor Acosta.
All right, sir, you're here because you're arrested on a warrant out of county. Oops, hang on just a second. Where are those in that? You told me before. They're in the queues? That must be at the bottom here. Criminal. Keep going up. There's criminal, family, county divisions, criminal divisions. Yeah, right here. That's what comes up on mine, is all correspondence. Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm. It's the old next page gambit. All right. All right, Mr. Acosta, you're here on a warrant out of Pinellas County, and the bond on that is $513. Never see soon. All righty, you're all set. Your name, sir?
Walter.
Last name?
Alves.
Okay. Sir, you're here on a warrant out of where's it from? Brevard County, and the bond is the amount of $250. All right. Your name, sir?
Audi Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of carrying concealed firearm and resisting an officer without violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. The bond set of $1,000 on the carrying concealed firearm and $500 on the resisting without violence. And I'll appoint a public defender for you.
Your Honor, there's also an on-review VOP.
Yeah. And the second. Did you notice who they have as a defense lawyer on Odyssey?
No.
Kennedy Swanson. And also, you were on probation for burglary of a dwelling, grand theft, or criminal mischief. There is no bond on that. And a public defender will be appointed on the violation of probation as well.
Yes, sir.
Must be a relatively old case if she's still on it.
This is 2016.
Okay, 33 days.
Yes, Judge.
Rodriguez Antonio Alexander.
22 CF 7224, granted, notice and on filing.
Today's August 1st. Nicole Lillian Martinez, 2022 CF 6773AO.
Granted, notice and on filing.
Cornelius Bernard Brodus. Cornelius Brodus. It's a freaking flyer.
22 MO 751, denied, and information was filed per the clerk's site. It is a city case.
Adrian Lynn Mitchell, 2022 CF 7453AO.
Denied, and information was filed.
William Blackburn Wilson, 2022 CF 7433AO.
Granted, notice and on filing.
Aaron Stephen Worrell, 2022 MM 4284AO.
Granted, it was no build.
Cesar Ruben Cruz Diaz, 2022 MM 4316AO.
Granted, notice and on filing.
Alrighty. Time you want to start back?
Your Honor, state's ready. Offers have already been conveyed, so whenever Your Honor is ready.
Oh, I got 37. Go for like 11:45.
Works.
Does that work for
We
everybody?
were ready as well too, so.
Okay. All right. Let's shoot for that then.
I sent the offers to Ari. Did you get them, or do you want me to send them to you as well? Okay.
Okay. Oh, I guess that would be.